Hello everybody, welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast brought to you by the Scottish Rugby blog. I am Cammy Black. I'm going to move me and John, John's done it, he's swapped this round. It was weird me and John.
Sorted.
So, joining me this evening, we've got Craig Manson. Good evening, Craig.
Hello, how are we doing?
We've John Anderson, who's shifting me around on the screen.
I mean, I love to shift you around, Cammy, but yes, I'm here. Yes, hello.
And joining us by the skin of his teeth and the skin of my teeth too is Johnny McGinty. Good evening, Johnny.
Good evening, how are we doing? Similarly hectic bedtimes, I think.
Yeah, I've had the same. I've just had a request for Calpol.
Oh, no.
Yeah. She's got the shakes. Can I give her just another hit?
It's such good stuff, though, isn't it? Like I was genuinely thinking about this earlier on. When did we stop being allowed to have Calpol, like as adults? When did we start taking tablets? Like I'm all about that Calpol life.
Yeah. I think there's probably a point at which it just wouldn't do anything for you, or you'd have to take a lot of it to be effective.
I mean, well, what's the dosage? Like we could definitely do this as a Patreon special.
We've got
how much we can take.
We've got genuine doctors that listen to this, so please get in touch with your answers.
Exactly, yes. Tell us,
please take paracetamol responsibly. Should just put that on there before I get banned from Facebook.
Indeed, yes. Good point.
So yeah, Alan McDonald, get in touch. How much Calpol can an adult drink? We want to know. These are the sorts of hard-hitting questions on this podcast. So yeah, we are live at the moment on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can also download the podcast in audio format on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can get your podcasts. We have a Patreon as well, patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast. And from £3 a month, you get not only this podcast, but you get a bonus weekly podcast as well, where we talk about rugby some of the time, but not all of the time.
I think some's generous, to be honest.
Some's probably generous.
Yeah, if you want some good biscuit chat, that's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not terribly dissimilar to the main pod in that sense, though.
I was just thinking, I really sold it there. I should just shut up. I'm meant to be in sales, and I didn't sell it very well. Biscuit chat. What am I talking about?
The least you could have done was be excited about the biscuits. You're just like you were like Eeyore talking about biscuits.
If you want to hear our impressions of Chris Patterson at an orgy, the Patreon special is where you need to be.
I had mercifully forgotten about that.
Yep. Until I saw the title of the podcast last week, I'd forgotten that's where we went with that.
Were they already?
He's back and he's allowed back in the house now. It's good news.
Oh, yeah, that
he was in his office today.
Do you think our podcast has that influence that actually it was
on his wife?
It was us that got him back in. You're like, nothing is here. Let's get back in. Come on.
Unless, do you think maybe the Truman showing him? Mussey's in like a dome in Murrayfield. They just put him in a car and drive him around Edinburgh blindfolded, then like take him into like a porter cabin and tell him he's home in Galashiels. And there's just photographs of the hills there.
7 minutes in,
it would explain a lot. That's all I'm saying. That's why none of the that's why, you know, like when Scottish rugby players retire and they just get given a job. That's what happens. They're all there against their will. They're always holed up in porter cabins somewhere. Mark Dunson's got them rounded up in some sort of internment camp. I feel like this is something for the Patreon. Let's move on.
I was just thinking, I was starting to talk about Scottish rugby being the Matrix. Or what?
Yeah. Let's explore this more in the Patreon special anyway. So let's start with some news then. Right, Johnny, I'm going to make you explain this. You can explain the European draw because it makes no sense to anybody apart from you, apparently.
Yeah, all right. This was going to be my hands in the rock, but I'll do a simple explainer just now, and then I'll complain about how angry it makes me later. Basically, the 3 domestic leagues, their top 8 finishers go into the Champions Cup.
Yep.
And they split them into 4 seeds. So if you finish first or second, you're a 1 seed. Third or fourth, you're a 2 seed. Onwards and down. So Edinburgh finished 8th, are a 4th seed, right? Then they split them into the 2 pools, and there's one team from each seeding group from each league in each pool.
Okay.
So there's a 1 seed from each of the 3 leagues, a 2 seed from each of the 3 leagues, a 3 and a 4 seed in the pools. And then you play your corresponding seeds. So 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3. And you play the 2 teams that are not from your league. So Edinburgh will play, because they're a 4th seed, they'll play the first seed from the Premiership and the first seed from the top 14 from their pool. So I think it's like Saracens and Castra. I don't understand how that's difficult to understand.
Yeah, but the way that they explained it was they seemed to have the graphic then was very confusing. The graphic made no sense that they put out.
The graphic's not the best.
Glasgow will play these 2 players, and then these 2 teams, and then you looked further down, and then some teams. Glasgow were playing other teams.
Yeah, that was confusing. You had to look for your badge on the left hand side because that told you the 2 teams that you're playing. Because of the way that it's drawn, you don't.
So Glasgow have only got 2 fixtures.
4
home and away. Yeah,
home and away.
Bath and Perpignan home and away.
So on that graphic, then they were showing Glasgow playing these 2 teams at home, and then you then had to go down the list to find you on the right-hand side. On
the not very well laid out graphic that they put up, the only thing that matters for your team is the fixtures where your team's on the left-hand side. So you know how it's like Glasgow versus Perpignan and Bath.
Yeah,
that's who we've got: Perpignan and Bath home and away. And I know, like up at the top, it's like Bath have got. Whoever they've got, Glasgow and somebody else, but the somebody else, Glasgow aren't playing.
See, that makes no sense. So how do you work out who wins?
Because it's whoever's top at the end. Everybody plays 4 games, top of the pool. Because it's
there's 2 pools.
Each pool go through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, there's like
There's 2 pools and the top 4 go to the quarters.
It's dreadful.
Apart from the Challenge Cup's a bit more confusing because they start dropping. Losing Champions Cup teams in. The Champions Cup's pretty straightforward. The top 4 from each pool goes to the quarters.
Do you remember the days there used to just be 4 teams in a pool and like
but
played each other home and away?
I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I like this new way better because the thing I like about it is that they keep teams from your domestic league out of your European games.
That's true, but you could achieve that by simply going, let's do pools of 4. And let's not have teams from the same league drawn against each other and seed them that way. Jobs.
Yeah, but I think with the number of teams that go through, if you were doing pools of 4, that wouldn't be possible.
Eight pools of 4. Then
you could do that though.
It used to be.
I don't think you could.
Was it 6 pools?
If it's 8 pools of 4 and 3 leagues, then you're always going to have pools where there's more than 1 team from the same league in it.
It sounds like we need an expansion. And
yeah,
we'll get 8
get some new leagues.
Other leagues.
Bring back
South African teams are in there now. Hundreds of teams.
But that's technically our league, though. That's URC.
I know, but is it though, or is it just?
Well, yeah, because we already play all the URC teams. Yeah.
I know.
We don't play them all. That's the other thing. You don't play all the URC teams, or you do play them all, but you don't
play them all.
Not
home and
away.
Yeah, either home or away. Yeah. I like the way the European Cup's done because it's a good chance to see some different teams, and you get them home and away.
Well,
I like it, and I find it fairly straightforward to understand.
It is good this year because we've not.
Could you not just do pools of 3? I don't know. Anyway,
Egypt. But then, how would you seed pools of 3?
URC pools top because they're. Like
you don't seed. Just don't seed it. They're supposed to be the best teams in Europe.
Just a wild draw.
Wild draw.
What? So just like draw all the URC teams 1 to 8.
1 from the URC, 1 from the Prem, 1 from the top 14.
Yeah,
there you go.
Just do it that way.
Boom, like just draw random 8.
Imagine when Leinster end up in a pool with Saracens and Toulouse.
But that's the point of a draw.
That's
the point of a draw, though, isn't it?
And like Bath
that would be magnificent, though.
But that's kind of what happens.
But the whole point in the European draws is the way they exist is to stack them heavily in favour of the teams they want to win. So that's why we're not getting that.
Where's the romance in that? That's
there's plenty of romance in it if you're a Leinster or Saracens fan because you get to the final every year.
Leinster and Saracen fans aren't romantic, Johnny. They don't. Machines don't feel. It's a very famous point that was made during the Blade Runner and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Also, Terminator.
Let's apply the Volk Kampf test to Leinster and Sarries fans to see if they pass.
Oh, the This podcast has started heroically.
Well, I don't know if it's heroically. I've just kind of zoned out there because I thought Johnny McGinty was talking about his American football draft fantasy league there for a second.
See, this is why people complain about the European Cup, because I've just explained it in a very straightforward way and you weren't listening. And now people like you... I wasn't
listening. I was bored. Absolutely.
Well, you don't get to complain that you don't understand it now because it's been explained.
I never complained I didn't understand it in the first place.
The teacher has spoken.
The thing is, right, I think it just, like you said, John, I think the thing that kind of I don't find attractive about European rugby is, as you say, it's just it's the same teams. It's stacked in favour of the same teams. Whereas you've got something like, I know it's kind of the same with kind of the Champions League, but say something like the FA Cup or the SFA Cup. You can go on a decent. Smaller teams can go on a decent run and progress quite far. Whereas with the European Championship, I mean, unless you're vested in one of the top teams, unless you're one of the robots supporting Sarries or the Leinsters or someone like that, it's just dull.
Yeah,
I just think it should be knockout rugby straight away. Just throw them into it, knockout rugby.
And it should be. You're right, but we all know the reason why, because they're trying to get
Leinster and Sarries at the top.
Well, they want Leinster and Sarries to have 4 games on TV. They then want them to have quarter-final home and away. They want to make sure these teams that they supposedly think are the biggest draws get, airtime, which is a bit rubbish.
The thing is, though, like this year, what I don't think they banked on, and they never bank on France. They've been doing this for a really long time, and they don't seem to understand that French teams go mental and like anything could happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So Castres are a 1 seed, which I don't think anyone expected, and I do not think that they expected the South Africans, because the 1 seeds from the URC are the Bulls and the Stormers. Leinster are a 2 seed.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of gone. It's gone apart at the seams a little bit, because there was stuff I don't think that they were prepared for. Because Leinster are a 2 seed, Munster are a 2 seed, Toulouse are a 2 seed.
So who are Leinster?
So are La Rochelle.
Who are they playing then?
I don't know. I only know who the Scottish teams are playing.
Right. Well, you've got the skills.
The URC number 1 seeds are the Bulls and the Stormers.
Magnificent. And then let's not forget, of course, that we then have the invitational team in the Challenge Cup as well, just to throw all that spanner into the mix as well. Yeah, let's the resurrected Cheetahs, who we all thought had been put to pasture after Pro 14 days, but no, they still exist and are still.
Well, we can't send Glasgow to like Ukraine or something like that at the moment to go and play a game of rugby, so it's going to have to be the Cheetahs.
To sacrifice somebody.
Yeah.
The Cheetahs at least are playing all their home games in Parma.
That's right, yeah.
I don't think the same is happening to the other South African teams. So I think anybody who gets the Bulls or the Stormers is going to South Africa.
Oh, fabulous. They'll be delighted.
Won't they be thrilled?
Oh, yes. Wait till you see the next year's reform. As soon as one of the English teams has to go to South Africa in December.
Leinster have got Racing and Gloucester.
Oh!
Munster have got Toulouse and Northampton. And Ulster have got La Rochelle and Sale.
Lovely stuff.
Because they all qualified slightly lower than they expected. And La Rochelle, Racing and Toulouse also qualified lower than they expected.
Well, this is the beauty. I mean, that is part of it, is that you can never predict what's going to happen in the top 14 every year. So at least we've got that going for it.
Yeah. This year they were completely taken by surprise. I don't think they expected 2 South African teams to be the top 2 finishers in the URC. So
good. Right. Are you happy with the draw, though, Craig? Even if you don't understand it.
Is it Cast or Montpellier you've got, Craig?
It's Cast.
That's probably the easier 2, to be honest.
Well, we've beaten Saracens before, so I don't think it scares us. But Cast will be Cast is one of those ones where, and I don't mean to use a very, very lazy what's the word? Usual comment about the French, but it just depends what Cast turns up. Because Cast will either play absolutely awful or they'll come out and absolutely spank us. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. And then I don't know what the third team is. I think it's
you just got 2.
Is it just 2? Is it?
Because the thing is messed up.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting, and if we, if we have Saracens at the Dam or Cast at the Dam, it'll be an interesting day. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Cast have got a big dollop of l'esprit de corps as well. They do not care about away games in Europe at all.
No.
That's the thing with the French teams. They can absolutely just you can have all the seedings in the world, but if they lose the first game, it is absolutely all bets are off. you could be seeing the Cast under 9s turning up at the Dam, and it'll be yeah, they were the best available players we had, despite the fact we've got a top 14 game in 3 days' time, and look who's turned up at that. Oh.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Cast's a much more appealing prospect than Montpellier.
Aye.
And,
yeah.
And Saracens or Leicester, I'd probably take Saracens.
And then in the Diddy Cup, Johnny and John.
Perpignan in Bath. Yeah.
Yep. Got the return of Sia Halanuka. He's a Perpignan.
Perpignan have also got a guy called Mike Tadger.
I tell
He's
you
going to
what,
love his visit to Glasgow.
it will be an utter disgrace if Glasgow fans cannot come up with you've got warning, you need a chant.
Yeah, I've got a feeling he's going to have a fairly uncomfortable evening in Glasgow, to be honest.
Probably not travel.
That's assuming there's any fans in the stadium.
Is it
Pull a
Tajer?
hamstring.
Tajer.
Mike Tajer.
Mika Tajer. I'm really looking forward to Jamie Lyle on comms for that one.
Here he comes, Michael Tadger. Through the middle.
The affectionately named Mikey Tadger.
What's his offloading like? He could push one out the back door.
Oh!
We're not on the Patreon yet, just FYI.
Boom, boom.
It's for innuendo's fine.
All right. Good to know.
Innuendo's absolutely fine and allowed and encouraged. Any more in the European draw now that Johnny's explained that to me, and I kind of understand it now.
I'm happy with Glasgow's.
Fine. I've found a test that the BFI have set up called Are You a Replicant? So we'll do that on the Patreon and imagine we're Leinster fans. Find the Leinster fans are patrons later on. Or replicants rather. So the next bit of news, there's been I don't know, it's news as such. The Scottish government have given the Scotland women's team £140,000. Craig, which is, I don't know, it's good to see them funding it.
Yeah. It's good to see that that everyone's. It's good to see not only the SRU and the fans, but the government and everything getting behind them. And I think it's any more money that's coming towards them, well, good on them, as long as it gets to them and it's not quietly redistributed in any way. Then I'm pleased about that. And it'll be good. And we've got a couple of really cracking fixtures coming up to the Dam for the warm up as well. So really should be good.
So USA on the 27th of August and Spain on the 11th. So they're two quite big teams, I think, from the women's point of view, to kind of good tests for going into New Zealand.
Yeah, really excited about it, especially the USA. It'll be really, really good to see the USA play at the Dam and see what happens, and hopefully we'll get a few more bodies down to the Dam Health and to support.
Does Ilona Meyer play for USA 15s now, or is she still just in the 7s?
Currently, I think just the 7s. I'd have to actually do a little bit more research, Johnny.
I haven't thought the women's 7s, the Scotland women's 7s have been going great guns on the European tour.
That was heartbreaking on Sunday afternoon. Yeah. Oh. And because it was on YouTube, there's no commentary, and I couldn't understand what was going on. I had to wait until it got explained on Twitter. Absolutely, because on the feed the clock was in the red. Scotland obviously thought the clock was in the red, kicked it out, and then next thing, I thought that the ref had blown up for a penalty. And I was like, I didn't see anything wrong there. And then next thing, Poland are taking a line out, and I was like, what? What is going on? I don't understand. And it turns out that Scotland thought time was up, and she told them there was 30 seconds left or something.
Always ask the referee if time's up.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't believe it.
Always check. Yeah, I suppose the sevens is different because the hooter goes. So I don't know how the hooter gone, Johnny.
I don't know. I don't remember.
What's the other thing?
But the clock had been red for quite a long time on the feed, and obvious, which means it must have been red. I assume they're taking off the stadium clock. Stadium clock must have been red.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking because as soon as it happened, it was, and like Scotland hoofed it out inside their 22 as well. Like Scotland had defended their 22 for about 45 seconds. The clock was really, really red. Scotland turned it over, kicked it out, and the next thing there's a line out, and Poland scored.
Yeah.
Always
it's horrible.
Sure. That's why you take your time at the base of the ruck when you turn it over. You go, is that time? Is that time? Yes, boot, and get it done. You don't mess about and just kick it straight out. Don't trust the stadium clock. Never trust the stadium clock.
Yeah. Other bits of news. We kind of mentioned this last week. I think that Holly Davidson led the first all-women's refereeing team at the weekend, which is superb. Good to see. We've got one high-quality international referee on the circuit at the moment.
Indeed.
That's harsh on Mike. Look, I love. After we've talked about this before, after years and years of moaning about English, French, Welsh, and Irish referees, I take perverse delight in hearing people complain about Mike Addison's performance.
I mean, I take delight in it because actually, him being an international referee might mean he doesn't necessarily get the 1872 cups anymore, which is a good thing.
He was on the refereeing team for the URC final, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
He was a touch judge. Years of getting this off the ground with the prime South African teams. We get two South African teams in the final. They sell out the stadium. It's a huge deal. Andrew Brace refereeing, Mike Adamson on the touchline, and Ben Whitehouse as the TMO. Welcome to the URC.
Yes.
It's breaking out the big guns.
Oh. It's funny how much trauma is involved in those three names. Just like, I mean, Andrew...
if I say the word if I say the words Marius Jonker to you, John, it doesn't exactly instill lovely thoughts.
I mean, you know, it's a beautiful name, though. So
that is a good name.
Yeah, like I think referee names, like the proper names of referees, I think that has declined. You know, like you always kind of thought about when you were younger. You're like, see, if I was a professional sports person and hearing the commentator having to say my surname, would that be all right? And I was kind of like, no, it'd be really boring. Like,
it's quite easy for you, though, wasn't it? Because the best referee in the history of all time is named
This is true.
you.
This is true.
So...
Maybe I should go into refereeing. I would have a leg up straight away. Just it'd be like, oh, he's got the name for it.
You'd have to call yourself not that John Anderson.
I would be the real John Anderson.
Are you going to be wearing the white and black striped shirt and that as well?
Absolutely, mate. Oh, that's a standard Saturday night.
Shout at the folk in the pub. Wolf ready!
Drinkers ready!
3, 2. Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
The Fish is asking a random question we got from Fish1167. So, can anyone get me to Hugh Jones's wedding?
No, because I've got a
If anyone's crashing Hugh Jones's wedding, it'll be me.
And the legalities of me attending are not applicable. Can't get there, sorry. And my lawyer informs me I have to reliably tell you I won't be going.
You'll be sticking by your court-appointed 100 meters.
I'll be at least 600 meters from him at all times.
Yeah, he's at Hugh Jones Marry Me on Twitter.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, we don't have details. I understand that he's changed it last minute and he's having it in France now.
I don't think
Paris.
Can't talk about that.
Yeah,
it's too emotional. That better not happen. By the way.
Hugh Jones and Bruno. We can't talk about. It's such a shame.
Liam Byrne is saying that Holly Davidson was dodgy at the RFC in the pro alignment game. I don't think Holly Davidson is ever dodgy.
Nah. Like pictures or it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's it. I think there's no. Is there any other news from anybody? I don't think there's been any signings or anything particularly. We still know Scott Robertson's definitely not coming to Glasgow because he's coaching the Barbarians in the autumn.
Yep.
Yeah. Or maybe he's coaching the Barbarians and then just staying
As a warm up, yeah.
I'm just interested in all the Twitter stuff that's going on about seeing Warren Gatland speaking to people in Glasgow and stuff like that. I saw something on Twitter that was saying that Warren Gatland
by the steak bake in Greg's.
He's the new Telegraph rugby correspondent, and in his first article, he said he was looking for another job in the Northern Hemisphere.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
He said, in fact, not even the Northern Hemisphere. I think he said he would be back in Britain for another job.
How funny would that be that when Gatland takes the reins at Glasgow for a year and then Townsend gets his jotters after the World Cup and Mike Blair doesn't get the Scotland job because we give it to Gatland and then we all become self-appointed Gatland lovers?
Is it possible for Warren Gatland to select the Glasgow squad without selecting a single Scottish player?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
100%.
Well, I've got. What you mean? I've got to actually choose Scottish folk? No.
No. Like Warren. Okay, right. So he didn't come out of the Lions thing looking like he had reformed, right? It's clear that maybe his coaching staff were selling the merits of Scottish players, and Warren was kind of like, yeah, fair enough. I'll just go along with it. But you know, it did. The final
to be
say.
Fair, if you watch it, he's the one that wants Doohan in the test team on the
he does want Dewey, as he affectionately knows him.
Yeah.
Love that. Love it. All in for that. He also does mention Ali Price.
Yeah.
Well, Price pretty much played all three tests. He was the one consistent.
Yeah, basically, in the documentary, as soon as Alan Wynne Jones is on the plane, Gatland's like, well, if Connor's not captain anymore, we'll have Ali.
He's not in. Ali's been playing much better anyway.
He literally goes, well, if captain's the only thing that's keeping Connor Murray in, Alan Wynne Jones is on the plane, we'll have Ali Price. It's brilliant.
Magnificent. Oh, I love it. How Connor, they talk to Connor Murray as well, and it's just like he's so salty.
I felt quite bad for him because he looks really sad and it's really emotional, and then they follow it up straight away with him breaking Stuart Hogg's face, and I'm like, actually, I didn't feel that bad for him after all.
It was so brutally done. It was magnificent. Craig, you were pulling faces up there. What you pulling faces at that?
It's the Ali Price thing again.
No, it's got nothing to do with the Ali Price thing. It's to do with you going, I love that nickname. I love that nickname. But and you love your Dempo and everything like that. But what about the minute you mentioned Benzo? Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, but neither of those nicknames are a sedative.
You're very forgetful. You forget things very quickly.
Just to segue into the main part of the pod after 32 minutes, we are getting Benzo and the Boff on the international stage on Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely, yeah.
We are
Boff's on the wing for Los Pumas, isn't he?
Is this like you know when the cop drama goes to like the 5th or 6th season and they have to mix it up to have a twist? Is this like Benzo has went bad and now the Boff has went bad. Yeah. And Benzo needs to bring him to justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Boff has gone bad and has moved to the Falklands. And
I see Benzo and the Boff sort of like Sharky and George style 90s cartoon.
And no, Benzo and the Boff are claymation animations from Aardman.
Do you think so? See, I think it was like a 90s Nickelodeon, like Sharky and George, Pinky and the Brain, that sort of like era of animation.
Yeah, like really, really poor animation, but also like classic writing.
I just saw it as like Dempsey and Makepeace.
Like the
Boff was the good-looking one.
Yeah.
He drove the cabriolet.
The Pinky and Brain theme tune does kind of scan. The Benzo and the Boff. The Benzo and the Boff. One's a former nominated World Young Player of the Year. The other's Argentinian.
By the way, there was a Scotland game last week. There's a Scotland game this week. We are 35 minutes in, and we're making up theme tunes for a fictional children's theme about Mark Bennett and Buffelli.
I will have none of your organisation, McGinty.
Look, listen.
Background. Be gone.
If I want to spend my lunchtime mocking up a VHS cover for Benzo the Boff, then I will do that, Johnny.
Mate, this has to happen.
Oh, it's got to be like an 80s theme tune. I'm telling you, we'll have to get the
walking
one of those
This is like
one of those guitar keyboards.
Oh yeah, proper.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Best thing I ever saw was there was a guy. I think he did the final countdown and it had a kazookalele. It's still my favorite.
Nice.
My favorite. It's basically a kazoo, like sellotape to the end of a ukulele, but it's amazing. Right, well, let's talk about Chile then. Go on then, Johnny. You forced my arm after 35 minutes. I don't really want to talk about it because it all felt entirely kind of pointless and a bit soul sapping. And I don't know what anyone has learned from that. And they've sent all the young players home anyway.
Yeah, quite a few people have been punished for trying too hard, I think.
Yeah.
That's basically what's happened.
Yep.
Well, like the Hoyland, was it the third Hoyland try where he ran into a load of bodies and then stretched his arm out at the end? Or was that his third one?
That was his third, because his second was the one off the short line from George.
Yeah, it was that third one where he had two players outside of him in a really easy overlap and took the selfish option, which is fine against Chile. And I think I think Ben Muncaster was, it might have been in the run up to that try actually out on the wing. There was a 1-man overlap and Muncaster could have sent, I think it might have been Price in, but decided to take it into contact and hope he'd run over the Chilean player and didn't. And so it just wasted a bit more time. So I wonder whether there's a bit of that or whether it's just the kind of
if that is why Hoyland's been sent home, it's a little bit harsh when you're on a hat-trick in an A game against Chile and you try to take it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't think Hoyland's been sent home because of that. I think Hoyland's been sent home because you've got Duhan, you've got Rufus McLean's been kept out there. You've got Darcy. You know, where and when is he going to get a game on the wing? The only thing I would have. Sorry,
I said cover your ears for a second, John. Rufus McLean was not good on Saturday.
No, he wasn't.
The fact that he's still there and Hoyland's been sent home, I think, is a bit weird.
It looked really rusty, to be fair, and I think right. So Damien Hoyland, you know what you're getting with him. He's not first choice. He's not ever going to be first choice. But in a case where we get a brutal case of wingitis that rips through the squad, Hoyland can step up probably at any point. He probably doesn't need that much encouragement. Just turn up and go. Just play some sevens, pal. You'll be fine. Batter in. And he'll do a good job in the wing. We don't really need to understand much about Damien Hoyland, and he's never going to be in that position. I think with Rufus McLean, it's different. He's had a long injury interrupted season. He's not played a lot of rugby, and it showed actually at the weekend. He was trying a lot of things. I think now this is going to sound like excuses, Workman blaming his tools here, but I think the pitch didn't necessarily help him because a lot of what his game's built on is that step and that searing turn of pace. He fell quite early, and he seemed to twist himself really quite a lot with a step. And I do wonder if he was over trying to push things too much because of that. So, but he's going to learn a lot from just being out there and actually, getting a wee bit of maybe getting some game time later on in the tour. You're not going to learn anything from Hoyland being there. He can go home, go back to his family, go and chill out, get a good wee run up with Edinburgh under his belt, and then if he's needed, he's there. And I think that's the position he's in.
The thing is, when you look at what's happening to Ireland at the minute, I don't see the point in sending anybody home.
I completely agree. I was surprised to see MD go.
The on-screen commentators yesterday morning were basically talking about how Niall Scannell still had the taste of airport curry in his mouth when he went on for Ireland yesterday morning. Like, they basically drove him from the airport to the stadium. That's how desperate they are already. So for Scotland to be sending people home, I don't really understand.
We've taken, I don't know what size squad Ireland took out, but it was fifth. Was it? It was a really bloated squad they took out for that Chile game because the English players couldn't play.
Yeah.
In the
game.
No,
Ireland took 40. Ireland have got 40.
Well, I think Scotland down to 41 now.
Right. Okay.
I think that was the plan, is to cut it down to. I'll get the numbers now. I think the plan was to cut it down to 40 this time, and then they're going to cut it down after the second test again. I think Townsend talked about that in advance, that by the end of it, they'll have basically a match day. Well, just over a match day squad.
28. They're talking about for the final Argentina test.
So it was 39. Oh, yeah, it's 39. Summer tour squad. You're right. I thought it was that's 41. It was 41.
And now down to 39.
But it was 41. It was announced, but Hugh Jones and Hastings got injured out of it.
And then they called it Johnny Matthews, so that's then back to 40.
Who's now away home.
But he's away home now as well. Yeah.
Because George Turner's back, despite being ill. So it said he was ill.
Santiago sickness, or
I don't know what he had, but it said he did not travel with the rest of the team because he was ill.
Right.
Which sounds awfully like Mr. Khaleesi back in the Lions tour. Just saying. But yes, he has now joined the squad and is ready and willing and able.
Did we learn anything from that Chile match?
No, we didn't. It was pointless, Cammy. It was absolutely pointless. It was. I mean, we didn't have our full squad. We didn't have. All we learned was that, against guys who are playing at quite a low level of rugby, we can throw the ball about a bit, but actually there was no structure, there was no patterns. We learned that the second half malaise that Glasgow had this season has apparently permeated the Scotland team as well, so we'll look to batter that out on Saturday, but ultimately it was overplayed.
Yeah, I think that was the thing for me, that it wasn't. I think there's a lack of clinicalness and ruthlessness about it. It looked like we turned up to play Chile and going, well, we'll easily stick 50 plus past these boys. It's just a run out. And I think it was an opportunity to, and Scotland started to do it against weaker opposition, is to really kind of properly put a team to the sword.
Yep.
Which is kind of harsh when you're in their own kind of back garden, but they're not there to kind of put on an exhibition match, are they, Craig?
No, but and this is where I think Scottish rugby or whether it's Townsend and his team that have structured it all, or whether it's Scottish rugby that have structured it all, but I think they've gone around it the wrong way. They've come out, they've taken this enlarging squad for an A game, and they've put in George Horn. Right, George, go on and see what you can do, because he's been out and he's had no game time. Virtually no game time this year, and you've got the opportunity to get your shirt back for Scotland. You've got Hoyland, who has very little caps, has been always talked about as a potential Scotland player. Send him out. Muncaster, on you go. Rufus McLean, on you go. Come on, Thompson. Let's see what you've got to do. And they've put all this pressure on these boys, and they've gone out, and some of them have kind of, instead of just going out as a squad and saying, right, these are the guys that are going to go out and play the A game, and it doesn't really matter what you do on the A game. Let's go through the processes, and then we'll look at the squad for the Argentina game. No, we're going to send some of you home. So of course they're going to overplay. And George Horn was back to what he should be, but he did over. He was. It was white line fever. You could see George looking at, right, how many am I going to score today? Hoyland was the same. Muncaster was trying to batter everybody out the way and prove himself as a big, the big forward that he has shown himself as an Edinburgh player. And I just feel they've gone around it the wrong way. To get the best out of those players, I think they've gone around it the wrong way.
But what I suppose then, from that point of view, it was maybe an opportunity to get the ring rustiness out of the way in coming into the Argentina game then.
Well, they
It's-
certainly. Sorry, Johnny.
No, you go, because I think we're going to say the same thing.
Well, it depends. I don't know. It certainly showed you, for example, and okay, the second half performance wasn't great, but automatically, whenever you saw when Bennett came on, when Kinghorn came on, those players, when Ali Price came on, you saw the control come back in, and all of a sudden they were making line breaks. And I just felt that it was almost like, here's the big boys, here's the adults are coming on to sort the kids out, and because it's been noted within the press that Chile stepped up in the second half and were hitting, were stronger in defence, and they were looking a little bit more ferocious in the second half. But I just think I was absolutely nonplussed by it.
Yeah,
absolutely just nonplussed by it.
Yeah, it was really, yeah. I think, as you say, it's interesting. The guys who came on, almost they've got no. So there was never any danger of any of them going home. Let's put it that way. They're coming off the bench, and there's never any danger that they can go and overplay, underplay, stand on their heads, do what the hell they want in the try line or whatever, and there's no issue. The guys who started the game, for some of them, it was their only chance, really, to kind of push their case for the tour. And that seems a bit, I mean, that's a different management technique from Townsend. Like, he's often been a very inclusive manager, making sure people are in and about camp, experiencing tour with a view that, yes, you might not get game time, but you're certainly going to be heavily involved. And he considers the squad as a whole, as opposed to the individual 23. This seems very much like it feels punitive, and it's not the first time over the last wee while that Townsend has made decisions that felt punitive. And I'm sure in the coaching team, and I'm sure within the player group, I'm absolutely certain that they're explained properly and fully, and everyone's comfortable with them. But as a supporter, you look at it and you go, well, Muncaster's been sent home because he dropped a couple of balls and overplayed. It's nonsense, and it just doesn't fit with Townsend's mentality.
All those players, I would argue that all those players were already on the plane back after the Chile match before a ball was even kicked.
Yeah,
because they're there because they can't play the English players in that fixture because it's not inside the international window.
Yeah.
So for all you might have arm around the shoulder, this is your chance to stay on tour. There's not one player in that group, and he said in advance we'll be reducing the squad as we go through the tour. There's not one player in that group I thought, oh, that's a surprise that he's gone home.
Muncaster
Well,
for you.
Muncaster's for me, yeah. I was going to say,
it's actually who's taken his place from an English-based club.
It's but
Sam Skinner,
it's
maybe?
no. That's it's Sam Skinner's on the bench, but you've got he's lined up Magnus Bradbury at 6. That's where Muncaster should be with Darge. You should have Muncaster now.
Muncaster and Darge is the future of that back row. Go now.
So I would have far preferred to. I would have paid the extra for his hotel to keep him there, because I just think that and it's no disrespect to the boys that have come home, but because but Hodgson didn't look that great on the weekend.
He was pretty poor, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then you've got a hat trick, Hoyland, who has basically been sent home as well, and you just think to yourself, well, what was the point of it?
What message is it sending to these
Well, I
players?
suppose the Hoyland one is you'd send McLean home ahead of Hoyland.
I think if you were doing it on form, if you were doing it based on that game, you would say, McLean, right, you're not fit, buddy. Off you go. Go and have a pre-season at Glasgow. We don't need you to in Argentina. Hoyland, you're an experienced campaigner. This is your chance to make a case for the World Cup squad.
Yeah.
But maybe
form you're sending home McLean, whereas if you're thinking about development, you'd probably keep him because he's 7 years younger than Hoyland.
But then if you're thinking about development, why are you not having Muncaster and Darge training together every single day?
Would Darge is still injured? Presumably he's gone on tour.
He's on the bench.
He's on the bench.
No, he's
not. He's starting.
He starts. Yeah, he starts.
He's been training since he was out there. He's pictures of him training from the moment he was out there. He's been fit.
Bradbury, because hang on, am I reading the wrong?
Oh, no, he's on the bench.
He's on the bench.
He's on the bench. Let's all
I missed. I know
he is fit.
I don't think he was expected to even be on the bench, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he's fit. But if you've got Muncaster and Darge there, even in training, just having them running lines together,
then but you've also then on tour got Bradbury, Crosby, Skinner, who can all cover 6.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it would be a good experience for him to stay out there. I'm just thinking they were always going to reduce the squad by that number.
Then maybe that was the bad decision. Then, what's to be gained from reducing? Yeah, okay.
No, so that's what I don't understand.
He gets back to have a couple of days extra rest before he goes to Edinburgh pre-season. Okay, fine, cool. And I actually think Muncaster's performance, like I've seen a couple of commenters say he's a year too shallow for international rugby. I disagree completely. Like there's been so many examples of players who've come to international rugby, even against poor opposition, and not looked great. And it's about that time in camp. It's about building those partnerships. If you want these guys to be a unit in due time, Muncaster and Darge are the future of that Scottish back row. There is no doubt of it. Everyone
the thing
knows
is, with all due respect to Edinburgh and the URC, if you're saying he's on the cusp of being an international, but he's a year away, I honestly think that 3 tests against Argentina is better preparation than another season of URC.
Completely
absolutely.
Agree. And the same goes for any of the young boys out there, and actually the same goes for the young boys who are not on the tour, who should be on the tour.
Yeah, and it's like Jamie Lyle was saying on comms on Saturday night as well. It's not just the 3 tests; it's the experience of being on tour.
Yep.
Which is why we come around to that's why Hamish Watson's out there. He's not necessarily he might never play, he might not actually get anywhere near a rugby ball or even near the pitch because he may be carrying a niggle. He might play one. He's definitely not going to play in all 3 tests because he's not in the squad. But
if you think about it, for a lot of the guys that are there's probably 10 or 15 guys in that squad. The closest thing that they've had to a tour is 2 weeks in South Africa, the URC.
Yeah,
and a tour is different to anything.
It's new, isn't it? And it's prep for that World Cup, even though it's just France. For the World Cup, it's different because you're in camp for a long time. And the way Scotland do it, obviously we do camp beforehand as well. So, it's a much more... We're going to go skin some rabbits. We're going to get Big Vern. We're going to go up a hill. We're going to camp. Richie Gray's going to freak out. It's going to be brilliant.
So the team's been announced for the first test. We've got, which is quite a surprise, Rory Hutchinson at 15.
Let's start as we mean to go on, guys. Eh?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I think there is... I know he's played there for his club. I think.
Right. I can't believe we're doing this again, but it needs to be done because it needs to be definitively cleared out of the air. Rory Hutchinson is not the best fullback in that starting 15.
No.
And we know who the best fullback in the starting 15 is. And
Ollie Smith.
In the starting 15, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
And you can go and get stuffed because he's a 10.
Yeah, right. But
he's a 10. Again, stop talking about it. He's a 10.
Why? I haven't.
But he's a bit. I think let's turn that on its head, though. I suppose he's a better 15 than Rory Hutchinson. I think is Johnny's point.
Yeah,
I'm not arguing that Rory Hutchinson is a better 10 than Blair Kinghorn. I'm not saying you should shift them about, but I think there is. I think the point you're making, Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're weakening you weaken a position by not playing the best, your best player. I get this, there needs to be opportunities to kind of throw something like him in just to see what he would do if all your fullbacks fell ill before a match. Yeah.
This is what I haven't had explained to me. And any time we try to have this conversation, people start going, why are you being so mean about Kinghorn? Why are you mean about Kinghorn? Blah, 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 right? Blair Kinghorn is a really good 10, right? Nobody's argued that. But so's Adam Hastings, and to a lesser extent, so's Ross Thompson. And the three of them are all quite far behind a generational 10 who might be Scotland's best ever player. Blair Kinghorn is also an excellent international 15, and he is the only international 15 behind Stuart Hogg. I also think he's a lot closer to overtaking Stuart Hogg than any of the three of them are to overtaking Finn Russell. So what I don't understand and what I need someone to explain to me is why we have three backups at 10 behind a guy that none of them are ever going to overtake and no backups at 15. Why is Blair Kinghorn being persevered at 10 when there are two other options at 10 and there are no options at 15? That is what I don't understand.
There you go. Bill got Billy on the comment saying Hutchinson's played 4 times at fullback.
And that's where they're sending Hoyland home.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Because
Yeah.
Hoyland's played a lot of fullback for Edinburgh. And you know what, I'm happy with them, you know, with the Blair Kinghorn thing settled that he's a 10. Didn't he talk about it anymore? That's the way it is. What I'm concerned about is the fact that you know, Ollie Smith is coming through. We're trying to get Ollie Smith up to Stuart. Not well. If I don't know if he'll ever come to Stuart Hogg levels, but you know, you would. I don't understand why we're not starting him and putting Hutchison on. If you look at Hutchison's last season, I would start him at 12 ahead of Sammy J. And I'm only going on because he has looked fantastic at 12 for Northampton Saints, where Sammy J has suffered with the team around him, and he has. See, I'm actually trying to throw a backhanded comment.
You've been very delicate,
very diplomatic.
But I think Sam Johnson is you know, you're not going to, again, for the World Cup, you're not going to learn anything having Sam Johnson at 12 for Argentina when you could have Hutch there.
Well, your point, actually, you're not going to learn anything for the World Cup. That's the key point there. Hutchinson at 15 makes perfect sense because Townsend wants a multidisciplinary squad. He wants people who can play different positions.
He does.
He wants to see Hutchinson at 15.
He does, but I would back Craig's point up that we haven't seen Hutchison at 12 much for Scotland, and it's definitely not recently.
But so, we've seen him at club level. I think Townsend knows he can play 12. He can play 12. He's a competent 12. A very good 12 actually this season for Northampton.
Yeah, he's been brilliant.
For Townsend's purposes, he's a competent 12. He's a very good 13 as well. So one more position, throw him in at 15, see what he can do. I guarantee you he won't be at 15 next week. But this is Townsend figuring out, can I have him in my World Cup squad?
The thing is that these selections make a lot more sense on the back of Hastings and Hugh Jones not being there.
Yes.
Because I don't think I think there's a lot of people there who wouldn't have been in those positions if everybody was still there. So it makes a little bit more sense there.
I thought Jones was going through a renaissance anyway. I thought he was going to come back at 15.
Hugh Naissance, if you will.
Hugh Naissance. Nice.
I wouldn't have been surprised to see Hastings at 15, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Because
double switch.
I think
Kinghorn to 10 and Hastings to 15.
Hastings is filled in at 15 before for Scotland. I think there's not really a question there. So I get it with Hutchinson, but I would have, and I suppose if we take account of the fact that maybe the plan was to start Hugh Jones at 15.
I'd still agree with Craig's point, though. Ollie Smith should be starting at 15 all day, twice on a Sunday. If you want a guy who is a young generational talent who is potentially, now that Blair Kinghorn's no longer a 15, is potentially a replacement for Stuart Hogg. Stuart Hogg's 30. He's not going on forever. You know, he's got a couple of years max left in him. We need a fullback to come through.
I think Ollie Smith is a lot further away from international rugby than, say, Ben Muncaster is.
I agree. I think Ollie Smith is.
But then you look at Xander Fagerson when he came on, and Xander Fagerson was quite far away from international rugby when he started playing international rugby for Scotland. Some say he is quite still far away from international rugby, but some. But do you understand what I mean? It's it's they're not going to be brought on by not playing. And yes, I understand that Townsend is one of those people. He's trying to get people to play several different positions or 3 different positions. But when we don't have a standalone fullback to replace Hogg, who is, because Hogg, okay, he's played 10 at times, but really, and it's like he's a standalone 15. Do we not need someone in the wings who is a standalone 15 who's going to come on and solidly?
We do.
This is still the problem that Scotland have. Is it's all very well having versatility in some areas, but if you go purely 100% for versatility across all areas, you massively weaken your squad.
Yeah. And also, we're not talking about... So the Xander thing's an interesting comparison, Craig. We're not talking about replacing one of, if not our best player over the last 10 years with a young upcoming talent. We're talking... Xander replaced WPNL, or he replaced, God knows.
I know he replaced Jeff Cross. He replaced Jeff Cross.
Jeff Cross. Right, okay. So Xander replaces Jeff Cross. That is not the same as Ollie Smith taking over from Stuart Hogg, captain.
Says you.
Says me.
No, but I wasn't kind of saying he was coming on to replace anyone. What I was trying to say was that they brought him into the squad and started playing him, and he you look at Chris Harris as well. Like even when we're talking about Rufus McLean, for example, and Ross Thompson as well. Those players have come on, and I think I messaged us you all on the Messenger when after the game and said Rufus McLean was awful, and then I thought to myself, hang on a minute, Chris Harris was on the wing when he got his first cap and he was awful, and it's that thing of, and what I was trying to say about Xander Ferguson is that they insisted on bringing Xander in to play for Scotland, and he had to learn. And the problem I have is the fact that we seem to, or Townsend seems to be, like Tuipulotu looked so out of sorts because he's at 12. Why? He's not played 12 for Glasgow at all this season.
I agree with that. I think the necessity of Xander was there. So it's the idea of necessity. And again, it's back to Johnny's point. I don't want to labour this. Let's move away from Kinghorn at 15. But to labour the point slightly, we've got a very, very talented 15 who, for whatever reason, people have moved him to 10. And he would be... So Stuart Hogg goes down with an injury next year. And all of a sudden, so let's just take Stuart Hogg out of the Scotland equation for a second. Who do we put in to replace him? Who steps in? Kinghorn, you talk about being closer to international rugby, or as close to international positioning as you can be. Kinghorn is the natural successor to Stuart Hogg at 15. He is the only person who is even remotely close to being anywhere near the level of Stuart Hogg. He's not close, but he is miles ahead in development of the other guys. And if we're saying that Kinghorn's a 10, then fine, right? But throw the young guys in. There's no point in playing a guy out of position, out of sorts, and four games in that position. It is madness.
Yeah, I think the Kinghorn argument's is gone now because
I think it is. I agree.
No, because I think that's within the Edinburgh and Scotland setup as well. I think he's a 10 now because he's not played 15 for Edinburgh, has he, Craig?
No. I think he came on for an injury, but I think he had to go at 15 because I think when Immelman was injured, and also Lang went off, and we had quite a couple of centre. I think Lang and there was Moyano had been injured as well, so there was nobody there to actually that would go to 15, and so they put him there. But everyone's very reluctant to put him at 15 ever. I'm
not disagreeing with that. I think if we're committing to him as a 10, that's fine. Okay, that is the decisions that coaches live and die by, and that battering, I disagree with it wholeheartedly as a concept, but that is their choice, and that's why they get paid a lot more money than I do. Battering guys, and if Kinghorn plays a blinder at 10 at the weekend, I will be the first person going, "Good job, mate. Well done."
Can I say one thing?
Of course you can.
Right?
Go on.
Can I
Let's
say
try.
one
So
thing,
can
Miss,
you
right?
can you wrap
Because I
it
know
up
you want
for
to
us?
wrap it up here, and I need. You say that you disagree with the whole Blair Kinghorn 10 thing. I would argue back the other way and say that Edinburgh, and it was obvious when at the 1872 Cup game, Edinburgh are in a better place with Kinghorn at 10 than Glasgow are with Ross Thompson at 10. Because Ross Thompson is not, and Glasgow have 3 10s that they all could have used, and they didn't. And okay, it was the coach's fault that they didn't use Mayotte, etc. Because he's a world class 10. But he's played for.
Behave.
Well, he's played international. He's been an international 10 for Argentina. So
world
right?
class is a stretch. Come on,
I would
okay.
say,
no one said that.
Well, let me just finish what I'm trying to say then. Okay, you can't turn around to me and say that and say that the Kinghorn experiment is wrong when we've got a 10 who is now second or third pick for Scotland, and he's only been playing 10 for a season. He's incredibly, he's incredibly competent at his position as an international.
The only thing I'd counter that with is that Edinburgh looked better with Mike Blair as head coach than Glasgow did with Danny Wilson as head coach.
Yeah,
and
which I think, yeah.
The thing is, and I've been trying to say this for ages. I don't disagree with the Kinghorn experiment because I don't think Kinghorn's a good 10. I think he's a really good 10. My problem is that there are at least 2 other options at 10 and none at 15.
None at 15.
That's my problem. My problem is not that Kinghorn shouldn't be played 10 because he can't do it, because I think he can do it. I think he can do it really well.
And I think
but there's so many options and we've got 0 at 15.
And he's a very good 15.
But then why are we constantly going on about Blair Kinghorn when we should be talking about all the 15s that are Scots qualified that have been left out of the squad?
Who?
Yeah, please.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to. That's what I'm trying to say is the fact that we've leaned on, having a captain, a 15 as a captain meant that we've had no development at 15, and now we're saying, oh yeah, we should be this guy who started it, who's been told he's now going to be a 10. He's put so much work into being a 10. We should then just put him in at 15 and for Scotland because there's nobody else. Well, who the hell is,
Yeah.
Why aren't we then
and this is
asking the question?
my thing is, if it was up to me, and again, like John says, we are not the people who are getting paid to do this. But I would never have asked him to be a 10. I would have looked at what I've got and gone, well, we've got Finn Russell, we've got Adam Hastings, we'll maybe have Ross Thompson coming through. We look at 15, we've got nobody. So why are we moving a very good 15 into 10 when we've already got options?
Because Edinburgh had options at 15 and the Edinburgh options at 10 were poor.
But then it's the purpose of the clubs not to serve the Scotland national team. That's what we're always told.
With all due respect to Edinburgh and whatever, I'd say generously 30% of people who care about Scotland's success care about Edinburgh being successful. So saying, we've moved Blair Kinghorn to 10 for the betterment of Edinburgh and it's going to be to the detriment of the Scottish national team, that doesn't fly. I'm sorry.
But again,
Johnny's just gone full Wales, bring back the regions.
Honestly, Dodson needs to
on that. We could talk about this for a long time, and indeed we have talked about it for a long time. We're going to finish the main podcast for this week. We'll probably carry on this debate. We haven't talked about the forwards yet. There's not much to talk about. So we'll cover that in the Patreon podcast. We'll do the Voigt Camp test for Leinster fans. Have some a bit more of a light-hearted chat. I'll try and keep everyone together so everyone comes back next week. So for the moment, though, it is goodbye from me and goodbye from Craig, Johnny, and John.
Hey, all.